and choices, and you are most importantly going to bring about change quickly and rapidly. If this community made the choice of any one particular matter, and that is, for example, disclosure, and every single person on Project Camelot that ever entered into any one of those videos, whether it be on the website, on YouTube, on different websites, and said, okay, I'm going to take 20 minutes of my day and write a very quick letter to my congressman asking him or her to bring about disclosure. The power of that one single step would be extraordinary. Now, there's a lot of issues that have been coming up for a number of people over the course of the last year. One of the big questions that people keep asking me about personally is swine flu and vaccines and plagues and what it is that's coming. Listen, the bottom line is that it is eventual. It is not a question of if, it is a question of when these things will take place. Is it going to take place the next day? I don't know. In the next year? I don't know. But I can tell you this, that no matter what we choose to do, we must remember that one of the greatest powers that we have is to remain in balance with nature and Mother Earth. It is not going to be through the sciences that we find the cure for an illness that was derived from nature. It is within ourselves that we are going to be able to do that. If someone walked up to you and they walked out of a factory that's had poison, and you saw the signs and there's poison symbols everywhere, and they walk in with their plastic suits and they walk back out and they give you an apple and they hold it up to you and you say, great, I'm hungry, can I have that? Are you really going to eat that apple that walked out of a building that is creating poison? It looks good and they're going to tell you it's good. But it's up to you to decide whether or not it's actually going to be right for you or not. No one's going to give you the answer. You need to go inside. Because if you are meant to be here for the entire path of your life, then, until you're old and you're fortunate enough to have those gray hairs move in, then that's great. And if you're not, you could walk out of the house and get hit by a car like I did a couple weeks ago. We never know truly what's going to happen in our lives, no matter how connected you are. So what you need to do is remain in your heart, and you need to remain clear in that, and know that the community that you're in, this community in particular, is of light workers, of scientists, of philosophers, of seers, all of these different areas, of artists. This community cares. So I'm saying, take some action, because the next year that I'm telling you about is going to get worse. It's going to get more difficult. There's going to be more financial problems. There's going to be more difficulty for you to feed your families, for you to buy new shoes for your children. And it's okay, because you know what? We're all going through that. The way that we're going to be able to get through is to communicate and have community with one another. And to work within those structures that are not working for us. And not to tear them down and crush them and throw them away, but to work with what we currently have and just make our voices heard. All we need to do is make our voices heard. Write a letter, ask for disclosure, start asking questions, dig deeper, and start making some action.
Okay, I want to go to a different area, Miriam, and that was very well said, by the way. I want to find out whether or not you want to make any kind of statement about the need for Indigenous people to come forward at this time, because this is a great opportunity and you don't know who might be watching.
Thank you. Kerry, you know we've had numerous conversations since we've met, and everyone out there knows that I have a very close connection to Indigenous people. The connection that I have is from my heart. It's from my mind. It's actually from my soul. And it is critical. It is critical that the Indigenous cultures around the world come together. I have a fear, almost, and I don't say that often, but I do. I have almost a shaking feeling with this that is of great concern, because they're running around and I see it happening. They're trying to make those connections and bridge the gaps and bring the voice. But there's so many people who are white people getting in the way of that voice coming together. And even within Indigenous communities and Indigenous cultures, there's a lot of ego involved. And a lot of these cultures are talking about the feminine being brought forward, and yet this is something that has still not been fully accepted by them themselves, even though they're talking about it. We're running out of time on this earth. We're running out of this time of choice. And we're still in it, and there's still hope. But the Indigenous cultures need to come together in the public eye, unified. And this is not going to happen from white people stepping forward and planning and organizing. This is from the Indigenous culture themselves. We are going to be there to assist them in this change, to work together to bridge that gap between the balance of nature and what it is that we have here in the structured world, what we've built. We need to come together. That means that on both sides, we need to set certain things aside and say that we no longer have the need for this. And that these things do not have to completely change and flip. You know, not everyone on Earth needs to go and live in the jungle. And not everyone in the jungle needs to come out here and live in this world. But what is it that both parties can learn from one another? And that's where the open heart needs to come in, even within the Indigenous culture themselves. And every single day of my life in the past, year and a half, almost 2 years, has been focused on trying to bring that energy to these people coming together. But unfortunately, I've experienced some very, very, very dark, and I mean dark, energies that have been coming forward through people to stop this process from happening. And one of the things that I can say about the Indigenous world is that I'm not easily fooled. And so when I hear someone say a word that says heart, I expect to feel it in mine. And if I don't feel it in mine, then I'm not listening to what they're saying, because they are speaking with a tongue that is a lie. So the Indigenous cultures need to come together, and they need to do it quickly, because the situation on this earth with disease, with poverty, with starvation, with natural disasters, with political structures, with economic structures, all of these things are being broken down. They're crumbling because they're not working. So if we don't step forward as the one voice for one people, for one world, we're not going to have one earth left. Not with human beings on it. This isn't about saving humanity. It's not even about saving the earth. It's really about saving ourselves and making the choice as far as what path we want to take. So if anyone wants to begin building that bridge in order to create that with the Indigenous world, I'm here. And I have friends. I have